You have to remember that one rich relationship is more powerful than 100 casual connections.
That's just the magic of it. And that's literally like how I ended up at blooming Buckingham Palace. I think we're at a time where we need to be more intentional and proactive than ever before to actually build these relationships.
The red flags are not obvious from day one. They're things that are revealed over time. And so you're not responsible for letting misaligned relationships in your life, but you are responsible if you choose to let them stay.
Hello, I am so excited right now because I am joined by the amazing Selena Soo. Selena, thank you so much for being here.
Hello. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Firstly, congratulations on your new book, Rich Relationships. First, I love that title, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it just came to me one day and I'm like, this is it, checking, make sure no one's got the trademark and got it in.
That's the magic right there. I love it when that happens. I feel like it doesn't happen to me very often, but when it does, I'm like, yes, like this is meant to be. So I am so excited to chat to you about rich relationships and what it means and what it is, because you and I, we were doing something recently together. You're doing the Millionaire Playbook with us for membership. And when we had that conversation, like one of the biggest things I took away from your journey to, building $1 million business was the relationships that you'd had and the impact that those relationships had. And it's interesting as well, because every time I do a Millionaire Playbook, there's two big things that I feel like come up every single time. The first thing is that the people have always had mentors or people guiding the way. And I know there's more to rich relationships than just mentors, but
yes,
every single time it's the relationships that they've had in their life that have helped propel them to where they've got to. And the other thing is that they all seem to, in different ways, just have a lot of resilience and a lot of the ability to like really work on themselves to help them, especially when it gets really, really tough. So I'm really excited because relationships are so powerful in business. And like, I know for me, starting the Female Entrepreneur Association, like the first thing I did was just start to build relationships and network and connect, which led to the craziest things, like being invited to Buckingham Palace. It was
my
weird.
Goodness.
I know.
Wild.
I was like, wait, how did I even get here? I wasn't making any money in my business. And I was sat around this table, like, 10 people. And one of the guys had just sold his business for 800 million. I was like, what am I doing here? But it was just through building relationships. And it's so powerful. So I'm really excited to chat about this. Firstly, before we dig in a little bit with your story, for you, what is a rich relationship?
Absolutely. So a rich relationship is one that massively enriches the quality of your business and your life. And I really believe that rich relationships are like rocket ships. So they're the fastest way to get to our goals and dreams. And every single problem or struggle we have, the question isn't, what do I need to do? It's what's the rich relationship that can help me solve it? Like it is the ultimate life hack and shortcut.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When I look back on my journey and I think about the people or the way when it has been shortcutted, it is through a person or someone else.
Yes.
And I just think, why do we make it so difficult on ourselves? We don't have to struggle alone, figuring everything out by ourselves. But I think so often people feel like they have to. So I'm really excited to dive into this because I know there's like different types of, rich relationships. But what has been your journey with this? Because when we chatted for the other thing we did, you were talking about the group, the masterminds you were in really early on in your business and the impact that had for you. So can we just talk a little bit about your amazing journey and how you've got to this point now, I suppose, of writing a book about relationships, because that's the impact that it's had for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before I started my business, I would join these newsletters and watch videos online and admire all these people from afar, wishing that I could be a part of their world. And while I was in business school, I just realized that there wasn't a traditional career path that was going to make me happy. I had to be doing all my own thing. And I really wanted to be helping people and elevating personal brands and helping experts and authors make that bigger impact. And so I struck out on my own. And early on, I did get a PR client. I was charging $4,000 a month. So that was my monthly income, which was actually great as a first-time business owner. And that was through a rich relationship, someone that had just known me for years. We ran in the same circles. We went to events. She had a book launch and she wanted me to support her. So that was my first big client. And then around the same time, I noticed these entrepreneurs that I followed, and they would post photos on Facebook. They, were at dinner after attending a mastermind. And I remember thinking, well, what's a mastermind? And they were celebrating, 6-figure and multi-6-figure years. And I remember thinking, I'm hardworking and I'm smart, but I just literally don't know what to do. I don't know how to structure my offers. I don't know how to get clients. They don't really teach you that even in business school. And so, I asked them, what their secret was. And they were working with a mentor who was really, showing them the step by step on how to achieve their business goals. And so I thought, okay, well, I want that too. And so I joined a mastermind. When I had the conversation, I learned that it was a $27,000 mastermind, which was a tremendous amount of money when I was only making $4,000 a month. But deep down, I knew that I really wanted to accelerate and I wanted to play big. And so I jumped into that container. And then I pretty quickly, that same year that I jumped in, I had my first 6-figure year. And the year after that, I had a multi-6-figure year. And then a couple years from there, started generating 7 figures. But it was 100% because I was in that community. Like, those results could not have been achieved by myself.
Yeah, it is amazing to hear that, because I just feel like that is such a golden nugget for anyone building their own business, that they can go out there and they can find people who they resonate with, people who are a few steps ahead of where they want to be at. And if they can have the courage to take the leap to be part of that person's world, whether it's like in a mastermind or what program or whatever, like what they can learn and how they can grow through that knowledge, it just will shortcut their journey so much. I remember doing that when I worked. I remember flying to Canada for a day and learning about, like, to be able to figure out my membership and dial it in. And I remember learning how to actually launch properly. And then I remember actually doing my first launch, and I got like 1,240 people signed up in 7 days. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't get this many in a year. And it was amazing. But that's because someone told me, Carrie, go and do this. And I was like, okay, I'll go and do that then. And I figured it out and I did it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it's become such a core piece of my business and creating growth. And I would never have done that had I not had that conversation. I remember someone else telling me, Carrie, you need an email list. And sometimes you don't even need someone to tell you all the things. It's just the one little nugget of like, oh, okay. So I feel like it's been a huge part of my journey, and it's interesting to hear yours too, and the fact that, I mean, God, but $27,000 when
I know,
it's a humongous investment, isn't it? And it feels terrifying, but like, I feel like it's so worth it if you want to create growth and you want to do it faster. Like,
and I'm not saying that people need to invest at that level. Maybe they're investing in a $1,000 program or $3,000 or $5,000. But I will say, at a certain level, like, if you want to win big, you do have to play big. And there is something about really aligning yourself with the top mentor who has achieved exactly what you want to do, and having that right network of peers. So, I talk about the 5 different types of rich relationships, and within the mastermind, I was able to find 4 of those. So the first rich relationship is with a mentor, right? It starts there. Someone that can basically give you the step-by-step game plan, and you can customize it, but they're basically, shaving off several months, if not like multiple years, by just telling you, like, this is what you do. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you also want to have a network of peers who are on that same journey, who can understand your highs and lows, who are just a couple steps ahead and really get your situation. Number 3 is you also want to have promoters, right? You can't be the only person that's telling people, I'm great at what I do. You need other people who are connecting you to ideal clients, who are referring you, who are sharing you out on their podcasts or newsletters or group programs. And then 4th, you also need people who are confidants. So people who you can be the messiest version of yourself, and it's a safe space. And then last but not least, you do need team members, because to grow, you can't do everything by yourself, whether it's like the little tech stuff or someone handling, basic admin or customer service issues, you do want to have support in order to grow. And so within the mastermind, I found those first four relationships: the mentor, the peer, the promoters, and the confidant. So also, when you join communities, a big part of it is how you choose to show up, right? Because you can put down the money, but if you don't engage, if you don't show up, if you don't ask questions, if you don't connect with your peers, support your peers, and receive support, then you're not going to get the full benefit.
Yeah, it's so true. I always say to people, who join our stuff, I'm like, make the decision to be like the best student, the number one student, show up. And I always say, like, get to know the team, get to know everyone, because if you put the effort in to get to know everyone, then you are going to put yourself in like the best situation. As in, like, when we know about people doing amazing things, we can connect them, we can shout about them, we can do so much more to help and support. There's just no point in just holding back. It's, that being said, something we talked about very briefly before we hit record is about being introverted, because like you and I were talking about how we're both introverts. And I think sometimes people who are that way feel so put off by putting themselves out there, or the idea of building relationships feels terrifying. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because obviously both you and I have networked and connected, even though we are both.
Right. Yeah. So a piece of advice I have for everyone, whether you're a massive introvert like me, or if you consider yourself to be an ambivert or an extrovert, is you have to remember that one rich relationship is more powerful than 100 casual connections. So when it comes to rich relationships, it's about quality over quantity. We can feel like we're connected. We have thousands of friends, in quotation marks, on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. But the reality is the average casual connection doesn't really do that much to change your life, but it's the rich relationships that really do. And so really the secret to being successful with rich relationships is being intentional about who you want to connect with. What are the rich relationships that you want to develop and pour into? I actually think that one of the reasons why we're successful at building rich relationships is in part because we are introverts. And sometimes when you're an introvert, it's like, I've got to create my own community, my own container that feels good. Right? It's like, it's way easier to actually be the leader than to show up at someone else's event amongst dozens of strangers. Like for me, I'm always that wallflower in the corner, like talking to one person. I'm not the person who's commanding the conversation in the middle of the room. So I think it's just about knowing yourself and what situations you thrive in. It's okay to say no and not go to certain events. And maybe instead you create your own events. Maybe it's self-care Saturday. Maybe it's a weekend hike. Maybe you're watching the Oscars together. There's so many different ways that you can come together with people. When you think about building relationships and gathering people, it can also be a total of 3 people, you and 2 other people. Or it could be a dozen people. It doesn't have to be a big number, but no matter whether you're someone that, is less naturally outgoing, you can still build rich relationships. So one thing I will say, Carrie, is I think that no matter how we are, we do have to take initiative. Like when it comes to business and relationships, you're not going to be successful if you're just sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. So you do have to think about like, okay, well, who do I want to reach out to? Who do I want to connect? Who do I want to support? And then show up. And you don't have to do that for that many people. But when you're intentional and you have a handful of people that care about you, feel supported by you, want to see you win, right? That can really transform your business.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so powerful. And you know what? It's also so true what you said about often introverts, I think, create their own spaces because they feel more comfortable in them. It's so true for me. I did create my own events and community because it felt safer and easier than being in other people's. I think the other thing for me that really helped with networking and connecting and building relationships was being driven by the desire to want to just be of service and help other people.
Yes.
I found that was my way in. Like, if it was about me selling myself and promoting myself, I really struggled. But if it was just me genuinely having a conversation to try and, I don't know, help someone or just be a friend or whatever, that felt easier for me to do. So in terms of those 5 different relationships, do you is there like an order to them, do you think? Or, I mean, obviously that they are all really important, but if, for example, you're just starting your business or you're in that really early stage of starting a business, what would
Yeah.
you say in terms of like, what would you prioritize and focus on in with regards to building relationships?
Yeah, I would say that it does pretty much go in the order that I shared them. Like, first off, I think getting a mentor early on,
Yeah.
because I think just talking to peers, sometimes, we're figuring things out together, we're making mistakes. It's just kind of like, it's good to supplement mentorship, but it doesn't replace mentorship. So I think mentorship is always number one. And then number two is the peers who you can talk about kind of what you're going through together. And if you share the same mentor, there's even more common ground.
Yeah.
And then, once we have our offers up, we do need people to help promote us. Whether they are inviting us to events and they're singing our praises as they introduce us to people, or they're sharing our work in some way. And then, as things get hard and we get deeper into the journey, we do need those confidants as well. And then last but not least, as we're starting to grow and expand, we do want to have some team members supporting us. But there'll be different phases. Like, I feel like with where I'm at right now, the mentorship is not such an important piece for me. I've been in business for 13 years. I have my business model established, and it's really about rinsing and repeating. And I'm not looking for the next, big idea or shiny object. Not to say that I don't tap into mentors here and there, but it's not the core rich relationship that I need. For me, I'm really enjoying just going deeper with peers and like-minded individuals right now.
In terms of like when you said like when you've got an offer ready and you're ready to like promote it and you need people to share the word for you, you've done such an amazing job of that. Like, you are somebody who has been so incredible, especially when it comes to like affiliate promotions and like getting featured on like other in media and podcasts and all that stuff. What would your advice be for people in terms of developing those kinds of relationships?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts around that. So, just to give people some context, that I used to run a program live called Impacting Millions, and it showed people how to get publicity. And I would have as many as 200 affiliates in a single launch, spreading the word. And I know that, when you don't have the skills, you haven't learned how to do it from a mentor. It's like, well, how do I even get one person to promote me, let alone 200? So I will share some things that I think could be helpful to people. So I think when you're asking other people to support you, the number one thing is they need to have an experience of your work. It's not enough for them to be your friend, to like you. It's not even enough to offer them any kind of affiliate or referral commission. While that can be valuable, that is secondary. Number one, they need to feel like they can personally vouch for you and speak from a place of experience. And so we're like, oh, well, people know what we do, but have they experienced it? And so you need to find micro ways to do that. And so in online marketing, often people talk about, oh, there's free gifts that you can give people and so forth. And that could be good, like people seeing your content. But I think for someone to be a referral partner, ideally they've gone deeper with you. And so is there a way where you could gift them a session, an intensive with you, invite them to an event? For example, I was promoting a publicity offer. And so what I would do is if I got on an amazing podcast, I would ask a podcast host, are you looking for other guests? Because I have friends and colleagues I think, could potentially be great for your show. And if they said yes, then I would make introductions, right? So every time I get an opportunity, who are 3, 4, 5 more people I can lift up at the same time. At one point, I was connected with someone at Forbes who was publishing, like maybe as many as 10 articles a month on female entrepreneurs. And so I asked her, are you looking for people to feature? And she said, yes. And so over time, I would start connecting people to her that I thought were really brilliant and who the world needed to know about. And so over time, I literally have created probably close to 200 opportunities for people to get on media, whether it's podcast or an online publication that was exciting, that was prestigious. And so for some of these people, they were interested in being an affiliate because they didn't teach publicity. It was supplementary or complementary to what they do, and it just helps amplify their students even more. And they can also vouch for their experience working with me. So it was a natural win-win. So I think that's number one. I mean, the other thing that I did, and I'm just kind of throwing examples out there because your listeners will see what makes sense for them. But in addition to helping people one-on-one, I also put together this event in Las Vegas because I knew that to introduce my work of impacting millions to others, a lot of my ideal affiliates don't have the time to go through a 7-module course. It's just not going to happen. But if I brought them together for a big party in Vegas where I did like this 1-day live masterclass and I brought in media and special guests and just all of the most awesome people and we had dinners together and just like connected deeply, that they would be there and that they would take in the work. And so after I, shared my presentation, I let people know, if you want to share this work with your community tomorrow at breakfast, like, we can chat about it. Right. So it was like optional if they wanted to explore and go deeper, but it's just like creating many different opportunities for people to experience your work and be a true advocate for what you do.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful way to go about doing that. And I think it's like you said, it just kind of starts, like you just have to start with like one conversation and then just you find more and more people if you're helping them and then just getting them and having those conversations where seeing if they just want, if it would be a good fit for them to share it with any friends. Like keeping it that conversational and simple.
Carrie, I'm just getting excited because it's making me think of 2 things I want to share with people because I think it's really transformational. So one is when you're making an ask, you might have to ask more than once, or you might have to follow up. And I think that, people intuitively know that, but I think that sometimes it can feel so scary to make an ask that once they put it out there and they don't hear back, they're like, okay, well, like that just shows nobody wants to support me. And that's not necessarily the case. So when you have, say, a group program or a course, your students can be ideal affiliates because they actually purchased it, they believe in it, and they've experienced it. And so when I would recruit affiliates for impacting millions, I would invite people in my community to sign up. But I wouldn't just send 1 email. I would send 7 emails. The first email might be something along the lines of, the power of impacting millions and publicity. And, can you think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 people in your world that could benefit from having the work amplified? If the answer is yes, I would love to invite you to be a partner and help get the message out there and help lift up your friends and colleagues. And, we would invite them to the program. So that would be 1 email. And maybe the other one, we would deal with objections. Sometimes people think, oh, I don't have a big email list. How could I possibly be an affiliate? Meet Evie. She didn't even have an email list, and yet she got 10 people into impacting millions and earned $15,000 in affiliate commissions. Here's her story. And we just kind of address each objection one by one in different emails. So then we would also drive people to a webinar where we would just really talk about the affiliate opportunity and how they could be successful. So, I think that there's a big difference in sending 1 email and being like, oh, I didn't hear back from people, and creating an actual campaign, like an educational and engagement campaign to get people on board. And I've also had situations where people have said no, and that's totally fine because sometimes it just doesn't make sense for them. Yeah. But other times when I feel like they've said no, but there's still an opportunity, I will, follow up. So for example, I have so many great stories around this, but there's one person, a client of mine, and I invited her to be an affiliate, and she was going through a divorce. And she was like, I'm not in the right headspace, even though I could really use the money. And I was like, well, what if we just like made it so easy? What if I did everything for you? Like, what if we have the swipe copy, but obviously I know you and your story and your publicity wins as your mentor. So what if I literally wrote every email for you and all you had to do is copy and paste and send? It's all done. Like, you're just going to be printing money. And she was like, yeah, but I'm also just so overwhelmed. And, my husband used to help with like Introvert and everything. We don't even have that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to put this out there. What if I got like my tech person to go into Introvert and upload the emails for you and set everything up? So literally you did nothing. And she was like, okay. And she got 40 sales that year. So that's $60,000.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. But I was like, let me just like take over, and I have people who sometimes are like, oh, I love supporting you, but I've got my book launch this year. I don't know if I have the time. It's like, let me just do everything for you. That's a big one. Or I had someone, my friend Kate Northrup, I invited her to be an affiliate, and she's like, Selena, you've poured so much into me. I so believe in your work, but I'm really about like doing less simplicity. I'm just kind of like saying no to things right now, but I do want to support you somehow, but I don't have bandwidth to be an affiliate. And so I just recorded a video to her and I was like, hey, I completely understand. And I'm all about, having boundaries and like managing your time and energy. But I do have some thoughts for you. We do have a mutual friend and colleague. We did a little interview last year and she got 4 sales from that. So that's $6,000. So I think there's small things that we can do that really will not take much of your time, if any, but that could still generate sales and still be a big win. So if you're
Yeah.
interested, I would love to just like outline that and just take care of that for you. And so it was like, okay, yes, so if you make it easy, then more people will say yes than you think. When people say no, it's like they're not just saying no to the opportunity. It's like they're saying no to something specific, whether it's a bandwidth thing or something else. And so if you have a way of overcoming it, you might be able to turn that into a yes.
Yeah. I love that. It's so powerful. And I just feel like these are all things that just can have such a huge impact when, especially if you've got like a business and you are, for example, you don't want to spend all the money on ads or you don't want to play the long game of social media. And it's like, tap into relationships, tap into the community, tap into networks, tap into the people around you, and then ask questions, have conversations, and talk to the people that you've worked with who might be, who might want to do it. And like you said, like find creative ways to make it easy for people to say yes to doing it, where it's a win-win. So yeah, I love that. I think it's really powerful. I'd love to also talk to you more about the things that are in your book. You talk about the 6 circles of connection. Can we chat about that?
Yes, that's my absolute favorite thing. And I can't wait to hear your reflections on it, Carrie. So when it comes to relationship building, the reality is not all relationships are created equal. All humans are equal, but certain relationships get prioritized over others. And so I like to think of your relationships, your network in 6 circles. So we're going to start with circle 1. So circle 1 is your innermost circle. There are typically 1 to 3 people in this circle. Sometimes there can be more. Sometimes someone has 0 relationships in circle 1, but these are people that are essentially doing life with you. They are by your side. They're on the pulse, whether it's day by day or week by week. These are people that are confidants and you can be your messiest self with them. And you know that they accept you fully and they're there for you. So this might be a life partner. This could potentially be a business partner. This could be a very best friend. This could be an executive coach or a therapist that has been on the journey with you and been a witness to your life. Maybe you talk to them weekly for the past, who knows, several years, right? That would be a circle 1 relationship. So then there's circle 2. So circle 2 relationships are treasured connections, right? These are people who feel like your soul family. And like circle 1, you can be your true self with them. And you know that you're a priority for them. If you texted a circle 2 relationship and said, I need help, can you talk to me tonight? It would be their pleasure and a priority to make time for you. They would rearrange things. Like you really feel like, okay, when you reach out to a circle 2, you could truly count on them, right? They might not know what's happening, all the details in your life, but they are still plugged in and they deeply care about you. Now, then there's circle 3. This is your active network, and this is where most of your rich relationships fall. So if someone is in circle free, this is someone that you trust. This is someone that you care about. You admire them. You respect them. You would feel comfortable referring business, introducing them to another friend and colleague. They're the kind of person you would invite over for a party. And if for some reason they had to crash one night at your place, you would be okay with them being in the extra bedroom. There's that, safety and just like trust in that relationship. So that's circle 3. Now there's circle 4. So circle 4, your distant connections. And there's a couple of reasons why someone might be in circle 4. One might be you literally just met them. You've had 1 conversation, 2, or even 3 conversations. And even though you feel excited, they are a brand new relationship. And so therefore you don't fully know who they are and they haven't earned that total trust yet. That's why they're in circle 4. Another reason why they might be in circle 4 is because there is some kind of misalignment. Maybe you notice that they're always down in the dumps and putting other people down and complaining. And it just doesn't really feel aligned with how you want to feel in relationships. or maybe there's someone that you can't count on. They don't follow through on their word. They let you down, and you're not going to remove them from your network, but they're not going to be a close relationship that you can really prioritize. So they're just kind of shown that they're unreliable.
Mhm.
Another reason why someone might be in circle 4 is that your circle 1, 2, and 3 are full to the max. Studies have shown that, the average human can typically only maintain about 150 connections in a meaningful way, just based on the size of our cortex and how our brain processes information. Like, we know realistically, we can't be in close contact with 1,000 people, right? We shut down, right? That the number studies have shown is 150. So maybe you already have 150 rich relationships in your life, and you have family and, all of that and kids, and there's not too much room for many others. So that's another reason why they might just have to be in circle 4. Like, you like them, but you're just not able to prioritize and really just show up for them because you can't be there for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, then there's circle 5, and these are disconnected relationships. So sometimes someone is here because maybe they betrayed you in some way. And it's like, wow, okay, that line has been crossed and things are shifting with that relationship. Or maybe you've had conversations with them many times and nothing seems to change and you're just getting exhausted. And literally this relationship has turned into a toxic relationship or an unsafe relationship. And therefore they shouldn't be in, your close circles. It's not good for your well-being.
Yeah.
There might also be people that maybe you don't really know that well, your acquaintances, but you've heard from others, hey, this is a dangerous person. This person creates drama. This person loves to sue people. This person can't be trusted. And you're like taking note, and you know that if you were to be close to this person, you wouldn't feel safe. And even your network would be confused and not feel safe.
Yeah.
That could be why someone's in circle 5. And then circle 6 is everyone else out in the world, unconnected, people where you don't know each other yet. You can know of each other, but if you haven't had a conversation, they go into circle 6. So I hope as each of you are listening, you're already thinking about like your rich relationships and what circles people go into. Mm-hmm. But the rich relationships are primarily 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes 4 can be rich relationships, and that, it's like maybe someone you don't want to be besties with, but hey, they want to invest in this new project of yours, or they make an introduction, but it's really, you're going to focus on 1 and 3. And it's a really helpful framework for yourself. I remember someone, her name's Carrie. She's a transformation guide, and she used to actually work for Oprah as her executive producer. I remember her saying, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. Mm-hmm. And holy cow, when I heard that, Carrie, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity, I just had shivers, because when I looked around, I had multiple relationships that were not in integrity for me. And it didn't start out that way. At first, I got excited. I really loved these people. I brought them into my inner circle. I hired them for services. Maybe they were on my team. Maybe they were a very close friend. But as I got to know these people, maybe there were certain things that didn't sit well with me, like maybe someone was emotionally volatile or didn't take personal responsibility, or they presented themselves one way in the public, but they were a different way behind the scenes. And when all that stuff is going on, it's really hard to be someone's, true blue supporter when they're out of integrity and you feel therefore out of integrity, be in close relationship with them. And so, the 6 circles of connection is a mental framework. You don't tell people I've moved you from circle 2 to circle 4. They don't know, but you know. And I think it helps you feel like your integrity. Okay, like this person has revealed themselves to me. They're not all bad. But this is not someone that I want to go really deep with. So mentally, I put them in a different circle and I just manage my energy and limit their access and proximity to me, including confidential information. Like, I'm not going to just share anything with a circle 4 and definitely not with a circle 5.
Yeah. I feel like it is so important to protect ourselves against people who just are like either just not good energy or even the people in life, like it can be still friends and family that just
it can be.
Get your dreams and ideas or just put you down or whatever it is. And I also have found it's so important to protect yourself as well when it comes to like building the team around you.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
A lot of making mistakes and the emotional toll and the stress of a relationship that's not working, that's dysfunctional, especially in like a team environment, any environment, to be honest, actually. Dysfunctional relationships are so stressful. But especially when it's in a team setting and you've got a lot of responsibility, it's, oh my gosh, one of the most stressful things I've ever experienced. But I think this is where we've got to protect ourselves. And I think this is where we have to trust ourselves. We have to back ourselves. We have to empower ourselves to make decisions where we are in alignment and integrity with ourselves, what we believe in. I think what you've just said is so empowering. It's so true. Like, it's so important to remember that. And in any situation, like, I don't know, it's kind of going off on tangents here, but it even reminds me of like, you know, previous like relationships I've been in, like with, you know, like boyfriends. And it's like, why do we like let people treat us in ways that aren't good, like, or in toxic ways? But I think this is a big thing of like, we've got to.
Such a good question. Yeah.
With relationships, like, how do we actually, I don't know whether it comes down to like a thing of self-worth of like, or just knowing and trusting ourselves or valuing ourselves enough to be like, no, this isn't going to work.
Yes.
Not letting people walk all over us or mistreat us, I suppose.
I think there's a couple of things going on here. So the first thing is that, you know, there are people out in the world that are not a match for us, that on some level they're unhealthy. But the reality is we have no way of knowing that, right? The red flags are not obvious from day one. They're things that are revealed over time. So that's why it's important to practice patience and relationship building. You can hope for the best, but just continue to keep your eyes wide open. And so you're not responsible for letting, you know, misaligned relationships in your life, but you are responsible if you choose to let them stay.
Yeah.
You know, once it's clear. And it's different for everyone, but I think for me, there's a couple things. One is I did a lot of therapy. I worked with an executive coach to really spot my patterns so that I could stop them when they were starting. So I had a tendency to be really drawn in by people that were charismatic and people that were visionary. And sometimes with these people can be charismatic and visionary, but they're emotionally volatile or they're self-important or, you know, whatever it is, right? There can be good qualities and there can be not so good qualities. The reason why it's usually so hard to let go of people is because we overemphasize the good qualities and underemphasize the bad things. And we're just willing to put up with it because we're like, wow, but this person has done so many nice things for me before. We have this in common. We have this history. But I think over time, as we, you know, the wisdom of experience, it's like, you know, enough is enough. Like we almost recognize a pattern like, oh yeah, I've been through this before and I don't want to go through this again. Or, you know, whether it's a team member, it's like, oh yeah, I had that situation 2 years ago. Like I already see this isn't going to work. I need to have that important conversation and like end this working relationship.
Yeah. Oh, it takes so much courage, but I think it's a really important part of, I guess, like what you said, like sorting out your circles and making sure your circles are right and the right people are in the right place so that you actually don't feel like and they're holding you back in a way.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question. So obviously, like, especially focus on business, like the relationships are absolutely key. But when you're like, it's you in a really small team, you've got 50 million different things going on. You're drowning and trying to keep up with it all. What would you say are the kind of perhaps like daily or weekly or even monthly non-negotiables that will help people to build the right relationships to help them to build momentum and create more success in their business as fast as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you need to create some kind of system that makes sense for you. And so I think step one is identifying which are the rich relationships that you want to cultivate. And so in the book, I talk about 10 different types of rich relationships. We discuss, you know, top 5 here today. But, you know, rich relationships are going to be with people that can help you create more abundance in your life, including financial abundance. So the team absolutely helps create the financial abundance, as does, you know, the mentor and the peers and the promoters and all of that, right? And also there's different kinds of abundance where maybe it's someone who is that confidant that really listens and emotionally supports you, but that also gives you the confidence then to go, you know, out and create more impact in your business. So those are the qualities. They create more abundance in your life. Number two, your rich relationships are connected to your goals and dreams in some way. They've done the thing that you're doing, or they can connect you to someone, or they're on the same journey. And number three is rich relationships are with people where there's values alignment. These people inspire you to be the best version of yourself, right? They help you self-actualize. So you think about the 10 kinds of rich relationships and the qualities, and then you have, specific names of people on a list. So I recommend that people have a top 40 list, and there's different ways to kind of divvy up the list. One way to do it is have 20 relationships that you want to nurture. And that some could be team member relationships. And, obviously it's the existing relationships you have with peers and a mentor and so forth. And then you have 20 new relationships that you want to build. So maybe you're thinking, you know what, I really need to get into new circles. I want to join networking communities. I want to meet these specific people. I want to maybe invite them onto my podcast, or maybe do an event or invite them to something I'm doing and so forth. But I like the number 40 because it's an easy number to manage. I mean, it's easy in that if you only have 3 rich relationships you're focused on, well, one, it feels like a lot of pressure on 3 people. And some of these people might not have the bandwidth to go deeper. They might have to put you in a circle 4, not because you are not amazing, but because they're just completely maxed out. So when you have 40, I think that's a good number to focus on cultivating throughout the course of the year. And there's different things you can do. You can put a nurturing appointment on your calendar for an hour a month. And, you could, or it could be, once every 2 weeks. And you can just scan your rich relationships and think about, is there anyone I'm compelled to reach out to? Maybe I'll see what they're doing on social media, or I'll send them a voice note or a text message. It can be something that just takes 90 seconds. Another kind of system you could have is maybe on a quarterly basis, 4 times a year, I'm going to host a gathering at my home or at a favorite restaurant or at a bar where I bring a couple people together. Because initially, when you're building a relationship, you should have that one-on-one conversation. But over time, let's say you have 150 rich relationships, you can't have one-on-one conversations with 150 people like every quarter, every year. There's just not time for that. So you bring them together in group gatherings. So I host my virtual rich relationships mixers, and that's so fun to bring everyone together. So you can do that virtually, you can do it in person. But when you host gatherings, you're not only strengthening the relationship with the person you care about, you're also showing them that you want to pour into them and that you're connecting them to other people in your network. And so their rich network gets stronger too. So there's so much value that you're adding. And then also you don't have to carry the weight of the entire conversation at a party. There's other people that are connecting and pouring into, the people that you care about.
Yeah, I love that. You just said so much gold. Like, I wrote it down. So you aim for your top 40 people. So basically 20 relationships you want to nurture, 20 relationships you want to build. Set time aside for when you're going to nurture those relationships, and think about something that works for you and just who you want to reach out to, and like you said, or organize gatherings, or, so that you can bring people together. Like, I think that in itself, like, it's so simple, it's so doable. I also really like the target of the 40 because I feel like it's achievable. And then people are like, right, I'm going to kind of like go and build this like network, these relationships. But I just think that it's simple, and all of us can do that. And if we do it, the opportunities that will arise, the possibilities, the doors that can open, that I don't know. I always think that about relationships and connecting with people. You just never know where it will lead and what will arise, or what random things someone will say that just changes everything. It could even just be like a random book they mention in passing that then you happen to go and read, then changes your entire life. Like,
it's so true.
That's just the magic of it is like, and that's literally like how I ended up at blooming Buckingham Palace. Is just,
I can't believe that. Amazing.
I know. It's like, but it was because on LinkedIn, someone asked me to go and be a judge at this event. And I was like, sure, I don't know what the hell this thing is, but okay. And then I met this guy who was like on the panel, and he invited me to something else. And I said, yeah, sure. And I got to know him. And then he ended up putting me forward for an award that then I ended up winning. Oh, wow. Ended up having this helicopter mentoring session with somebody. It was actually Prince Andrew who awarded me the award and invited me to Buckingham Palace, and now he just ruined my story because of all his scandalous stuff. And I'm like, oh, why have you ruined my story? But But I mean, it was wild. Like I literally was sat at a banquet next to Prince Andrew having dinner with him thinking, oh my gosh, you've really got the Queen's teeth. And then just desperately trying not to like fling my food off my plate. But I was like, how did I go from literally knowing no one and nothing in this space to within less than 2 years, it was way less than 2 years, being sat next to Prince Andrew at a dinner and being invited to Buckingham Palace. I was like, this is mind blowing. And it is through all the things you've just said. And I think we just cannot foresee the power of those relationships and where they can take us and lead us and the journey they can, the path they take us down. Yeah, it can be so magical and amazing. But I love the fact that you've also brought up the different circles of relationships, because there are times when we have to protect ourselves when a relationship might be leading us down a not so great path. And it's time to listen to ourselves and trust ourselves and be like, actually, no. But yeah, it's just like, obviously listening to your story and hearing the impact that different relationships have had on you, whether it's like from your affiliates when doing your launches and the huge success of you having so many people who are talking about you and what you're doing and saying amazing things about you, to the mentors that you've worked with. And, it's incredible, the impact of it. And I feel like we live in a world that's so digital now and we're online, and how many people are really connecting? How many people are really deeply, truly connecting with us and building relationships? I think it's getting less and less. But I think we're at a time where we need to be more intentional and proactive than ever before to actually build these relationships. And I also think as well, with AI and everything progressing with AI, I think one of the biggest things that will count is our relationships, because AI is hopefully never going to replace that, unless we all want to just be friends with robots one day. But I think now, like, it's those relationships, and there's so much meaning in that and in community. And I think it's so good to have this conversation and just to remember how powerful it all is. As we wrap up, what would you say to the person who is maybe feeling a bit isolated, feeling like, oh, but it sounds all wonderful, but I don't really know anyone, and they feel uncomfortable or maybe awkward, or they just don't know where to begin? Like, what would you want her to know?
Oh my goodness. If they don't know where to begin, I would say read my book. Like, just truly, it's the ultimate handbook. It's very step by step about how to build the network, nurture, and activate it. So in terms of building, right, that means getting plugged into communities, thinking about who you already know. But you can know all these people, but you need to also know how to nurture these relationships so that there's depth to that relationship. And then you have to know how to activate it. So one of the things that I'm doing for everyone listening is I'm giving a free gift bundle. So when you go to richrelationshipsbook.com, so again, that's richrelationshipsbook.com/FEA, you're going to get the first 4 chapters of Rich Relationships for free. So that will get you started on the right path. You are also going to get my Rich Relationship scripts, because when people go through the book, they're like, oh my gosh, I love the messaging that you use, the wording to get people to say yes, or even the wording where you're setting boundaries, right? But still maintaining versus damaging the relationship, right? All my relationships have been built through conversations, but people are like, what are the words that I use? What are the go-to phrases? And so I have these 20 Rich Relationship scripts at richrelationshipsbook.com/FEA. And if they go there before the book comes out, then they can opt in. And I will also be giving one lucky winner $1,000 cash prize.
Oh, wow.
So that winner is going to be announced on May 31st. So make sure to go to richrelationshipsbook.com/FEA to get the first 4 chapters right away for free before anyone else sees it. And then you're also going to get instant access to all of my Rich Relationship scripts.
I love that. Oh my gosh, everyone, go grab the gift. Go start doing it. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'll pop it in the show notes as well so that everyone has it. Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation and talking about this. I just think such an important conversation, such an important thing. And I just think we all need that little reminder to go out there and just build more relationships and connect. And like, that's what this is like. Life is for connecting and doing that stuff. So thank you for that reminder and for sharing such amazing tips. And also, I just wanted to highlight, I wrote this down because I thought it was so powerful what you said earlier on in this, when we're chatting. You said, if you want to win big, you have to play big. That is so good.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, we can't keep sitting on the sidelines, especially with everyone else building relationships and just watching other people have these amazing relationships and connections, and then we don't. Like, we've got to get in there. We've got to have, start having it, find a way that works for ourselves to go and have those conversations and build those relationships. And it's been such an amazing conversation. So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Go grab those 4 chapters of Selena's book. Make sure you get it, Rich Relationships, when it's out. And I will see you next time on another episode of the She Means Business Show.